Sold your worthless business for $350,000. My brother's text read. Family needs the money more than you. You've turned it into a circus. No one even knows who you are anymore. I stared at the message, not in shock, in silence. The kind that simmers just before something erupts. Because the business he called a circus? It was my life. It had my name on the papers, the title, the founding documents. Not his. I had rebuilt it. From the dust of Dad's debts. From the ashes of unpaid taxes and employees who nearly walked out. I modernized it. Made it thrive. Turned it from a dusty furniture showroom into a city landmark where families gathered, artists displayed work, and our little coffee corner was voted best new spot 2 years in a row. And now, without my knowledge, he sold it. Told the buyers I'd stepped away. Told my parents I would understand. Told himself he was saving our legacy. I didn't reply. Didn't fight. Didn't even text back. But 5 minutes later, his phone rang. I know, because the buyer, a sharp-suited investor from downtown, called him directly. Sir, why did you sell the city's most valuable business without the actual owner's consent? Why is her signature missing from the contract? That sound he made, that moment of stammering silence, was louder than any revenge. My name is Delaney Ford, I'm 33. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. Because when you steal from a woman who built something from nothing, you better hope she stays quiet. I didn't. He called me 6 times that night. I let every call ring out. Let his voicemails pile up like junk mail I never asked for. Because the moment you try to sell something you didn't build, you don't get to beg for clarity. Especially not from the woman you erased. The buyer, Mr. Hallberg, was already 1 step ahead. By morning, I had an email from his legal team. Subject line. Urgent. Confirming true ownership. I replied with scanned documents. Articles of incorporation. Tax IDs. My name across every file. Signature. Stamp. Date. They were stunned. Polite but rattled. Hallberg called me directly. Ms. Ford, I want to apologize. I was told the business was under joint family ownership. I now realize that was false. It wasn't a mistake, I said calmly. It was a theft wrapped in confidence. He paused, then asked, What would you like us to do? I answered without hesitation. Void the sale. And forward me the fraud documents he signed. That evening, I sat at my desk, sipping black coffee, scrolling through my brother's signature. The one he forged. Badly. I remembered how he used to fake Mom's signature on excuse notes in high school. Some habits never leave a man who's never faced consequences. But this time, he'd made the mistake on a document worth 6 figures. And I wasn't just his sister anymore. I was the woman who owned the building. The logo. The brand. The proof. He thought I was quiet because I was weak. He forgot. Sometimes silence is just strategy. By Friday morning, the fallout began. My brother's name trended on local business forums. Fraudulent sale attempt at Ford and Company. The headlines weren't explosive, but they were clear. And in our town, clear is all it takes. He tried to spin it, of course. Posted a message online. Just a misunderstanding between siblings. Nothing legal. We're working it out as a family. I read it while drinking tea from the CEO mug he once mocked. Too flashy, he'd said. You're just a glorified manager. Turns out, glorified managers keep receipts. And backups. And timelines. That same afternoon, my attorney filed a formal cease and desist. Included the forged signature, timeline of communications, and a polite warning. Further action will include criminal investigation and civil damages. I didn't want to sue my brother. I wanted him seen. Not just by me, but by everyone he used to perform for. That night, my parents called. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, some old ache, still hoped for decency. Delaney, Mom began. You're making a scene. Why would you bring lawyers into this? We're family. Family. That word. So often used to erase the harm done under its name. I replied calmly. He committed fraud. If a stranger had done this, would you ask me to let it go? Silence. Then Dad added, You've always been dramatic. I smiled. Because drama was never my tool. Documentation was. And I had enough to bury his claims without raising my voice. The next few days revealed just how fragile his house of cards had become. Vendors began pulling out of handshake agreements. The accountant, the same one he'd hired after pushing me out of board meetings, quit without notice. And the local newspaper requested a statement from me. I gave them one. Short, professional, but unmissable. Ford and Company has always been a symbol of reinvention and resilience. That will not change because someone tried to sell a legacy they never earned. The article ran under the headline, "Founder Speaks Out After Attempted Family Fraud." I didn't read the comments. I didn't need to. The shift had already begun. Customers started tagging me in photos again. Old staff members emailed, asking if I was rehiring. Even the mayor's office sent a card. "We're proud to have you as part of the small business community." And just like that, the silence I'd once feared became my shield. Not emptiness, not exile, but space. A space they no longer had access to. Then came the final message from my brother. No apology, no explanation, just one line. "Hope you're happy destroying your own blood." I stared at it, and for once I felt nothing. Because he wasn't my undoing. I was his mirror. The proof that building something yourself means you don't need to steal. You just need patience. He inherited entitlement. I built ownership. And I had no intention of handing either over. Weeks passed. The noise settled, but something had shifted permanently. I walked into Ford and Company one morning to find a handwritten note slipped under the door. No name, no greeting, just words written in shaky, familiar handwriting. "We didn't know how to support you without controlling you. You were always too quiet, too capable, and that scared us." There was no signature, but I knew it was from my mother. I didn't cry. I didn't frame it. I folded it in half and placed it in the drawer where I keep permits, fire codes, and emergency plans. Because it wasn't closure. It was an admission of fear, not regret. And fear never built anything real. That afternoon, I hosted a free workshop for young women starting businesses. I stood in front of a room full of strangers and told the truth. Not the headlines, not the family version, just the quiet journey. How I cleaned the showroom floor with my bare hands. How I rebuilt a brand while dodging insults from people who shared my DNA. How the hardest part wasn't betrayal. It was believing I had the right to succeed without their permission. And when I finished, a girl in the front row raised her hand. "Weren't you scared?" she asked. I smiled. "Every day," I said. "But fear didn't own this building." I did. They clapped. Not loud. Not performative. Just enough to fill the room with belief. And I realized I was no longer defending what I'd built. I was living in it. By spring, the business was busier than ever. The upstairs loft I'd once used for storage now hosted weekly meetups. Entrepreneurs, artists, women starting over. No suits. No suits of armor, either. Just stories. Shared in the open. With no one talking over them. That's when a message came in from my father. Not a call. Not a visit. An email. "Delaney, I read the article. I didn't know you were doing all this. It's impressive. I just wish you hadn't turned this into a public spectacle. You know how people talk. Your brother's not doing well. He feels betrayed. Says he's lost everything. You were always the calm one. I hope you can extend some grace." There it was again. The script. Grace from me. Excuses for him. I didn't reply, but I opened the folder on my desktop labeled, "In case they rewrite history." Inside, the forged contract, the buyer's email, the newspaper headline, and a photo of the original deed, with my name in bold print. I wasn't keeping it for revenge. I was keeping it for truth, because they weren't just uncomfortable with my success. They were stunned that I had proof of what they tried to bury. You can't gaslight someone who documents. You can't silence someone who doesn't need your platform. That night, I added something new to the store's front window. A sign that read, "Locally built. Woman-owned. Family not required." And the next day, we sold out of everything. The more I grew, the more invisible they became. not out of malice, but by consequence. My name, once buried in the footnotes of their family stories, now stood on city grant plaques, business leadership panels, and event invitations. Meanwhile, my brother disappeared from view. Word spread quietly. Vendors wouldn't work with him. His name had become a cautionary tale whispered between contract clauses. Then came the inevitable. A package. No return address. But I recognized my brother's handwriting. Inside, a copy of Dad's revised will. Handwritten. Messy. Stained with something that looked like coffee or time. My brother had been removed as primary executor. My name was written in its place. No note. No apology. Just that single piece of paper, sent like a question he didn't have the courage to ask. I stared at it, then filed it away with the rest. Because legacy wasn't just what they left behind. It was what I refused to carry. That weekend, a teenage girl stopped me in the cafe inside my store. "I'm writing a school paper on women in business," she said nervously. "Can I interview you?" I smiled. "Only if you promise not to call it a comeback story." "Why?" she asked. "Because I was never gone," I said. "They just never looked close enough to see me." She grinned and hit record. And, in that moment, I knew I'd already rewritten the ending, in a voice they never expected to survive this long. I didn't attend a reading of Dad's will. I didn't need to. What I built wasn't tied to inheritance. It was rooted in something stronger. Ownership without apology. Weeks later, a reporter called. Said she was writing a piece on family business disputes. Asked if I had a quote. I thought for a moment, then said, "When you give the throne to the loudest voice, you lose the kingdom to the quiet one who took notes." She paused, then whispered, "That's your story, isn't it?" I didn't confirm. Didn't need to. That spring, I was honored at the city's annual entrepreneurship gala. The plaque read, "Delaney Ford, for building without a blueprint." I hung it beside my first bank statement from years ago. The one with $73 left after payroll and rent. And beside that, a photo of my store's ribbon cutting. No family in the background. Just me. And the team I chose. That's the thing no one tells you. Sometimes you grow not despite the betrayal, but because of it. You learn to trust contracts over promises. Actions over apologies. And yourself above everyone. One night, I walked through my empty shop after closing. Touched the windowsills, I sanded myself. Straightened the hand-lettered sign near the counter. It read, "This was built by the girl they underestimated." I turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked into the night, not angry, not broken, just free.